so let's talk about condos, but specifically condo investing in Fort Lauderdale. Here we go. So I'm here back at the office. You don't usually see me do my videos here, but since we're talking about condo investing, I don't really need to be out and about today. Plus, I got my dog with me running around here somewhere. But I actually just left one of our listings where we sold this condo unit to one of our clients a little over a year ago, and they decided they want to rent it out while they travel for a year. So they didn't necessarily buy it with investing in mind, but here we are. It's also been a hot topic lately, especially when it comes to short-term rentals. So I want to talk about some pros and cons of investing in condos in the Fort Lauderdale area and who it may be good for. So let's get right into it, with the first pro being affordability and availability. And I want to lump these two into one because they do go hand in hand. There's usually always an abundance of condos available on the market, so you don't tend to experience a shortage like you do with single family homes. And just to give you an idea, there's over 7 months of inventory for condos just in the city of Fort Lauderdale alone. That's quite a bit. More options means sellers gotta be competitive with their pricing. Now, there are certain situations where you may have something unique, whether it's the location or the building itself or the amenities, and you really don't have many options to choose from. Like this listing that I just left in Coconut Grove. It's in a boutique building in Harbor Beach, which is a very exclusive neighborhood in the southeasternmost part of Fort Lauderdale, but it's off the beaten path on a private beach, and it's got great amenities, so it gives you that privacy feel, which you don't really typically get when you buy a condo, especially on the beach. And there's nothing else like it, which is allowing our client to be pretty aggressive with his pricing. But something like this is very unique, and for the majority, when you go into neighborhoods like the Gold Ocean Mile, or even just a small condo building in the city of Fort Lauderdale with very few amenities, maybe just a pool, there's usually always an abundance of those, which is exactly why affordability and availability goes hand in hand as pro number one. Now, you may be thinking, what the heck is a Gold Ocean Mile, or where is Harbor Beach? I don't know what any of this stuff is, which is exactly why you gotta reach out to us. Before we move on to the next pro, I do wanna remind you that we are a team of realtors here in Florida, and we make these videos to give you something that I didn't have when I moved out here 5 years ago. So whether you're buying or selling here in South Florida, we'd love to connect with you and see what we can do to help you. Okay, pro number two, low maintenance. Now, this one is probably kind of obvious, but maybe not. And there's really not a whole lot to say about it, except when you own a condo, you don't have a lot of upkeep, especially when you compare it to owning a single family home. You have those things when you own a single family home, like landscaping and maintenance on your building or your house, and just keeping the area clean. Well, in a condo, these are taken care of by the association. But that's not to say it's not gonna come with a price, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video. Pro number three, amenities. And this one is a big deal to a lot of people. When you're investing in a rental property, whether it's short-term or long-term, you want it to be as appealing as possible for the potential tenant. And it's just a lot easier to provide all these amenities in a condo versus a single family home. For example, Coconut Grove, where we just were. The amenities are fantastic. I mean, it has a pool, a hot tub, which, believe it or not, is harder to come by than you may think, a business center, a fitness center, private cabanas on a private beach, valet parking, and it has access to the Marriott Harbor Beach, which is a really famous hotel spa down here in Fort Lauderdale. It's right next door to it. So when you take amenities like that and compare it to a single family home where the most you're gonna get is probably just a pool, I mean, you can see why it would make sense. And obviously, if you invest in an association, in a homeowners association, single family home, you may have some more amenities like a community pool and a fitness center and clubhouse, certain things like that. But we typically try to stay away from investing in homeowners associations when it comes to single family homes. And speaking of associations, this brings us into con number one, which is gonna be restrictions. And I'm talking about mainly rental restrictions. And long story short, basically just means that The association may have restrictions in place when it comes to renting. For example, you may not be able to rent your unit out the first year of ownership, which is a big problem for a lot of investors. Another restriction could be that they only allow for a certain amount of leases per year. So if you're looking for a short-term rental, it may not be the best option. For example, Coconut Grove only allows 1 lease per year at a minimum of 6 months. So yes, if you're looking to rent short-term there, it's probably not the best opportunity unless you're a snowbird and you live here for 6 months out of the year, and then the other 6 months you just want to rent it out. Then something like that could be a great option. Or if you want to rent it out annually, again, that could be a great option. And one thing to note is that when it comes to short-term rentals, and I'm talking specifically daily rentals or Airbnb style rentals, no condo building in Fort Lauderdale will allow for daily rentals unless it's a condo hotel, which that's a completely different product. That's a completely different video. Another restriction that the HOA may impose on you is renovations or modifications to your unit. Now, this isn't something that I see too commonly, not like the rental restrictions, but depending on the building or the association that you buy into, this could be a potential issue for some people. Okay, con number 2, let's talk money, but not purchase price, but upfront costs and monthly costs. So we already established that the benefits of purchasing a condo is more inventory, which means usually a better purchase price. But one of the downsides is the down payment when it comes to purchasing a condo, which is usually a minimum of 20 to 25% down. And a majority of these condos just don't offer those low down payment programs, and really it's just due to risk. You're part of a shared community. There's issues that can potentially affect an entire building. And so lenders just want to be reassured that the association is number one, not being mismanaged, but also financially stable. Another thing to factor in is the monthly HOA dues and assessment fees. And these HOA fees can vary anywhere from the low hundreds for a 3-story condo building with no amenities, maybe just a pool, all the way up to $2,000+ for a high rise on the beach. And you just have to understand that, especially when you get to these high rises, whether they're in the beach or downtown or wherever, they're bigger buildings, they take a bigger staff to maintain it, so naturally your HOA fees are just going to be higher. Also, these high rises are usually in more prime locations. And as far as assessment fees go, well, this has been an issue ever since that building collapsed in Surfside. And right now, many buildings all across Florida, not just Fort Lauderdale, they're going through this strict inspection process just to make sure that the buildings are structurally sound and nothing like that is gonna happen again, which was honestly long overdue. And so unfortunately, because of this, a lot of condo owners are unable to pay these assessment fees. And so what the associations are doing is they're raising HOA fees in order to collect for future assessments. And so I actually sold a condo to a client maybe about a year and a half ago, small building, 3 stories. The only thing it had was a pool. And their association fee was about $300, I believe, maybe $350 a month. And 1 year later, this was after, all this happened and after they bought in, they raised their HOA fee to almost $800 a month. Unfortunately, this is just something as a condo owner that you will have to deal with. And this can make it a little bit harder to sell your unit, which actually brings me to con number 3, which is resale and appreciation. And aside from the assessments and that whole issue, oversupply is a big issue for this. Like I said earlier, more options creates a tougher time for sellers to actually get their price, and condos just don't appreciate as fast as single family homes in the first place. And the financials or the financial stability of the association actually plays a huge role in resale as well. If the HOA is financially unstable or being mismanaged, that's where we start to see those special assessments and those higher fees, and when reselling just becomes more of a headache than anything else. But this is more of a long-term play, and we are talking rental properties here, so maybe this one doesn't concern you as much. But as we all know, real estate should be a long-term play anyway. Now, if you're looking to invest in a condo to flip it, I might tell you otherwise. But we work with many clients who invest in condos, whether it's a full-time investment or a second home. And as long as you understand that it's a long-term play and have a good game plan, you can have a great investment and potentially a great second home if that's what you want. And if that's you, we'd love to connect with you. So call, text, or email us at any time. Let's hop on a Zoom call and we'll see how we can best help you. In the meantime, I appreciate you watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and we'll catch you on the next one.